Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of a Winkle webinar. My name is Keith Karras, and I am the Information and Networking Specialist here. And the topic today is going to be the Industrial Internet of Things. We're going to kind of discuss the terms of this and go through some sections throughout the presentation. Just so you know, this session is being recorded. And also your mics are currently muted. Feel free to use the hand raise button, which is in the top of your Microsoft Teams bar, to raise your hand. And either one of my colleagues sitting here will stop me to ask a question. Other than that, thank you for joining, and let's go ahead and get started. So let's just go through the agenda today. So some of the things we'll be discussing is what is IIoT? What is driving IIoT? Some of the changes that are being seen in manufacturing today. Some return on investments if you're thinking about starting an IIoT journey. And then kind of one of our concepts here at Winkle that we've been trying to push to our customers is the start small, plan big type of mentality. And we've kind of come up with a path that if you're thinking about going down this road, and if you heard the term and you don't know where to start, here's a path. Here's a path of steps to take to start to move towards this goal. And again, here the goal is just to explain this all to you, and ultimately these are the steps you need to take. Right? Winkle will give you the solutions and how to complete those steps. And these steps, I think, are very crucial into the digital transformation space. So with that being said, that's some concepts that you're going to hear or you may have heard out there, and listen to all these webinars, attending Automation Fair, listening to way other webinars out there. There's a lot of terms that I think that I'd like to focus on to what exactly they mean. So you hear Industry 4.0, you hear digital transformation, you hear IIoT. So Industry 4.0, right, is the movement. This is the fourth industrial revolution to date. So that's kind of when you're identifying the movement and everything, this is what Industry 4.0 is. So data into information movement, fourth industrial revolution. Digital transformation, that's your digitization of business, paper to no paper. Rockwell's term that you'll hear a lot if you're in the Rockwell space of things is the connected enterprise. And the main focus of this presentation today, which I'm trying to focus on and relay to you, is IIoT. And that is dealing with smart devices, that's information needed in real time. An example of that, right, is cell phones, Apple Watches. So IIoT, that stands for the Industrial Internet of Things. And basically what that means, it's a rise of internet technology. And with the rise in internet technology, it's a system of connected devices that can use data in unique ways to enable information. And with the things mindset, it's a mindset. It can be distinguished to anything that has useful data. There are a wide variety of these devices in your everyday life and not just in manufacturing. So if you see, you have your Apple Watch, you have your cell phones, like I mentioned before, all these devices contain some sort of data that you're able to access in real time, data now, when you need it, right at that time. And in the previous slide, there was a robot there in the manufacturing space. So let's just kind of go over a brief history of where these terms come from to see where the adaptation has come into play with this. So believe it or not, it's been around since 1999, but more or less Industry 3.0 was in full swing then. And IIoT and Industry 4.0 is considered a advanced technology. So if you look, If anybody is a Disney and Pixar fan, this is a movie that was released in 2001 called Monsters Incorporated. And believe it or not, the term in 2001 here, this was stated as the highest level of technological innovation. So this is a 20-year-old technology. So virtual reality existed even before it was popular. So for the past few decades, the world has been changing on a daily basis with the development of industrial practices, as well as the development of the human cultures. All the products in the surrounding are changing due to the help of research and developments. Industry 4.0 is a model, essentially, which shows the advancement in the industrial products are changing day to day following the latest developments. So this is kind of showing the path of, hey, we're all in school, we all understand the Industrial Revolution. You have the steam, there was electricity in the second, and the third, the 1900s computing. And today, what I'm trying to get across today is the fourth Industrial Revolution, which is information intelligent data. So that was kind of a brief history, and this is something that I want to get across to everyone. This is not something that has been created by Winkle Electric or Rockwell Automation. This is something that we are embracing to educate you, our customers, about. And sometimes, even more, sometimes your customers might be the spark behind the digital transformation journey. They're your customers' customers to say, hey, we want to do this. We want more creative insights on how to make our plant, or if you're an OEM, our machines better. So with that being said, Industry 4.0 and IIoT, it's the future as we know it in our everyday lives and in manufacturing. Concepts, as I explained, that in movies from Monsters, Inc. 20 years ago were considered advanced technology, now are reality. And just note with some more driving factors to this, the global spending on IIoT platforms for manufacturing is predicted to grow from $1.7 billion in 2018 to $12.44 in 2024. It's a 40% compound annual growth rate. Connected devices will be 3 times the global population by 2023, Cisco says. So if you think about that, and that's in a report by Cisco, there's roughly 7 billion people on this planet. In 2 years, there will be about 21 billion connected devices. Wow. And about half of those global connections will be machine-to-machine connections. The world has become very, very, very data-driven. There has never in the history have been such an information explosion. You can contribute, you could attribute this to the rise of smartphones, the sensors, and connected vehicles and appliances among all the digital artifacts. Much as what we know and work with now automatically generate data. So we have everything that we need at our fingertips, which is driving these changes and driving the investments forward. Very, very powerful stuff. So now that we've kind of discussed a brief history of IoT and some drivers for the change, let's focus a little bit more on the manufacturing space. So when you think about an IIoT concept, there's not a single technology that can accomplish IIoT. It is a technology collaboration to connect physical smart devices to then be analyzed for more informed decision making. And so how does it work? So let's go back to what I mentioned before of adopting this lifestyle. We go through an assessment phase, a connect phase, a data phase, a contextualize phase, and I call it the understand and transform phase. And based off this call, just so we were making the assumption that you're familiar, with hardware technology that make up, an OEM machine or a manufacturing floor. So for example, smart sensors, PLCs, HMI, pumps, motors, fans, etc. So those are some of the things that we assume that you already are aware in your manufacturing space or on your OEM machine. So that's where, when we get to the data phase and how things are all tied together when I make these assessments and assets, those are the devices and things we are ultimately discussing. So moving forward with the overview, is there's a change in manufacturing. Legacy equipment is becoming more and more expensive. Risk continues to increase on these systems because parts can't be obtained or are unable to be repaired. Many of these pieces of equipment are not capable to supply the required real-time data for IIoT. Think about it from the picture below. Would you want to be tasked with finding parts for these, a watch, or an Apple Watch, a rotary phone, or an iPhone, a robot, or something that's on an assembly line where you can't pull anything off of? This is the change that we're seeing today. And believe it or not, there's still a lot of manufacturers that have these legacy equipment and occur and attack these challenges every single day. So with all these increasing costs, one of the important things is you're probably thinking, well, I have all these legacy systems. It's costing me more and more money to support these legacy systems. If I'm going to move forward with an IIoT lifestyle, how can I get my return on investment? Well, obviously ROI is the top of the investment list. But what are some of the ways that we can achieve these ROIs? What are the benefits to the future manufacturing growth? Where can we see very, very great returns from these things? So one of them is having real-time data insights. The more you know, the more you can learn. Whether you're an OEM or an end user, to have insights available to you can bring extreme value if they can be identified off your equipment. That's my in the know. You got to know what's going on out there. By monitoring critical assets, maintenance can be carried out in advance to avoid downtime, and industrial process can be rendered more accurate and efficient. So if you know what data is out there and you're able to identify and be able to maybe even get to the level where you're predicting failures, you can help decrease your downtime. Critical assets. Measuring critical data points in a network of sensors positioned at key points on assets enable all relevant teams to be notified about the status of the asset or the project. They can know if they need to implement an action or change certain processes, and if they should act immediately or in the future. Data available to all. Made with solid evidence and facilities collaborative decision making across departments and teams who have access to all the same programs and data is very important. So everybody's looking at the same thing, so which I call the source of truth. So if you're able to collaborate and organize across many departments and teams, very, very efficient process to keep you from going down and having real-time insights. Again, this is a huge one. Data is king. And if you remember, it's from one of our processes going forward about our steps for data. Intelligent applications that create useful information from raw data, utilize it to control and optimize processes. So having all this information is, I think, a very, very key return on investment priority, is having real-time data and insights. Decrease costs. So if you're able to adapt an IIoT journey and you want to decrease costs, well, what does that mean? If you're able to discover more efficiency in your process. And to do that, you reduce waste, labor, and inventory costs. OEE is a big thing for discovering efficiency in your systems. Discovering OEE with your smart connected devices or data points, enable remote monitoring and maintenance of key processes and assets, which drive both reduction in cost of maintenance over time and an improvement in the level of the service to end users. So you're able to find out the capacity of your system, whether you're running, if you can run more efficient or if you have capped out and that you have to expand. OEE calculations and this data that is giving for OEE is able to help you make those informed decisions, because if you're able to improve your process, that decreases costs for labor and all those other things that go into running a line. Predictive maintenance. Another huge investment opportunity. The cost of unplanned downtime is high. Depending on the industry and the industrial application effective, an hour of unplanned downtime can be more expensive than the cost to replace automation equipment related to the issue. The idea of predictive maintenance is keep that product pumping out. Predictive analytics. Predictive analytics of the past are becoming incredibly intelligent, giving manufacturers data-driven insights that significantly contribute to the overall business profitability. So having data that is being recorded and that you can set up analytics and algorithms to identify trends that can help with the predictive maintenance to give you real-time insights on your process. Increase sales and revenue. Managing and maintaining connected assets more effectively can deliver a competitive advantage and drive revenue growth. Increase demand. Increase more customers. Unique offerings. So here's an example of this. Everyone's familiar with John Deere. It's an American corporation that manufactures agriculture, forestry, and construction machinery. The company bought the self-driving vehicle revolution when no other company did. So this is one of those unique offerings. John Deere is the first company that bought the concept of GPS in their tractors. The company has deployed telematics technology for predictive maintenance applications. So they have GPS on their systems, and they have manufacturing and maintenance data being recorded in real time for them. I'd say that's a pretty unique offering. And that can drive more customers to say they want those features and to be able to keep your tractor up longer and running more efficiently. That's one example, of where ROIs and IIoT comes into play. Be ready for the future. Find your unique flux capacitor. So all those concepts with ROI, all the data-driven things, is be ready because it's coming fast. Investing in IIoT early increases an organization capacity to further innovate in the future. Excuse me. Deploying IIoT systems across all departments enables organizations to gain experience, which can then be called upon during future adaptations of other new technologies and methods. Investment in innovation will not only be more efficient and effective, but will most likely have greater returns. It's a snowball effect. Solve a small problem from an initial investment in IoT, and it will have great potential to keep the investments churning for even bigger outcomes. And in reality today, we shouldn't be ready for the future. We should be ready for the now, because it's here and it's happening. And that leads into our concept of smart, small, plan big. And I'm not going to lie to you. IIoT is scary. It's challenging. The unknown is scary, but it's the reality of manufacturing today. Not every enterprise is able to equip themselves with the benefits of IoT. And here's the hard truth. Almost half, 46% of global manufacturers believe that they are being left behind when they see industry peers rolling out an industrial Internet of Things solution. You can go out to any company today and ask. There is not one company that will say they are not interested in an IIoT strategy. And it's also observed within the next few years, not 10 years, not 20 years, 72% of those companies fear they will lose market share if they are unable to implement their big data strategy. But take a deep breath. There is good news. 76% of manufacturers still believe the adoption of IoT would give their organization a competitive advantage. So again, let's go back to our original concept. Assessment, connect, data, contextualize, understand, transform. Digital transformation, again, it's not a project, it's a lifestyle. And one of the key things for starting small is identifying that key proof of concept. It's crucial for setting future stage goals. So again, this is the workflow we have identified. How can we help you overcome this challenge? What steps can you take to start your own IIoT journey? Winkle Electric, authorized service provider, and Rockwell Automation can be your technology partner in this space. Let's start at the assessment phase. Let's find out what you have now. And with that, one of the services that Winkle Electric can offer is called an installed base evaluation. Winkle Electric offers this service and is a site-delivered service that provides actionable intelligence to help you make data-driven decisions regarding the support and obsolescence management of your installed base assets. So with this service, we can help identify product lifecycle status via plant identification of legacy obsolescent risks. So we can identify those legacy equipment that you are still supporting and how we can convert them to a new, smarter, more data available technology. And this gives a very good baseline for determining a strategic maintenance program and what assets that you're looking to upgrade and or start identifying the ones that already have data if it is a useful case for enabling and collecting data off of it. We mentioned ROI. Proving an ROI within a short time frame is a real motivator to kickstart these big projects. This first step is a very small investment that has great value. Next phase is the connect phase. You have to have a secure and connected infrastructure. Connectivity and security is a crucial step to unlocking the power of digital transformation. Without connectivity, you can't implement IoT solutions if you can't connect your assets together. In a lot of spaces these days, I see a lot of machines on their own automation islands, not connected to the real world. This is something that if we're going to adapt, this is a phase that we have to figure out how to identify and bring those automation islands all together to have a connected infrastructure. Excuse me. So what are some services that Winkle and Rockwell Automation can help you with this step? We have a network assessment. We can evaluate the health and security. We can inventory your major network components, including network switches, routers, firewalls. And we can also give recommendations for remediation to the current network infrastructure. Network design. Make the right connections. Plant drawings, access to switch topology and port maps, device IP addressing. Come up with a valid bill of materials for you to implement into your plant, and a physical network component specification. Security posture. Help face the increasingly common and costly cybersecurity threats in an infrastructure. Security is key as well. You got to be able to protect your data. Next is the data phase. Data has to be stored properly before it is leveraged. As I've stated throughout this presentation, data is king, and it's the source of truth for unlocking the power of IoT. Now we have to find a place to store all this data and get rid of those old big whiteboards. So collect and store various types of system data based off original proof of concept. Again, in the previous that I mentioned before, when you're starting your IIoT journey, being able to identify that proof of concept of what you're willing to change is key to what data that you need to collect for that proof of concept. We'll migrate from those old data collection methods of writing on paper, writing on boards, and handing paper to and from production schedules to new automated collection methods, which I'm going to mention in the next slides to come. You need the right hardware and software packages. And Rockwell Automation can help. It's the most comprehensive and trusted industrial digital information software suite on the market. This is their operations suite. Everything you need to confidently operate and optimize production, quality, and uptime. So here's some of the core data operation suite offerings that I think will be beneficial for data. All of the core offerings will enable the end user or OEM to collect and store the required system data for their specific needs, enabling unique data sets that will be ready for analyzing. Just to go in details of the two that I mentioned in the previous slide is FactoryTalk Historian SE. It's going to provide you the capability to collect, store, analyze, and visualize data using a very powerful engine. Transaction Manager. Already have a place you are storing data, such as a database or even a cloud. FactoryTalk Transaction Manager is an industrial transaction software engine that shares data between your shop floor systems and your enterprise applications. So for some, like I said, some examples for that, a lot of data is stored in a database or now even cloud. This software can help bridge that gap and bring the information to the IT space or your enterprise space. Contextualize. Now that we have the data, how do we unlock the value of it? Contextualization means adding relevant information to data to make it more useful. In the world of IIoT, data, as we know, is not in short supply. PLCs, SCADA systems, conditioning monitoring, data historians, all provide tremendous insight into processes and equipment health. However, without a firm understanding of the context of the data, simply throwing it into a data lake and hoping for machine learning algorithms to provide something useful, it's a stretch. Adding context requires the knowledge of what sensor collected the data, what is capable of the insights into what the data could identify. What product can help with that? Believe it or not, Rockwell has what's called the Innovation Suite. It's powered by their partner, by PTC. Innovation solutions to connect your digital enterprise that harness information faster to make confident decisions. And here's just some core data innovation suite offerings. It's analytics, FactoryTalk IoT platform, and FactoryTalk Edge Gateway. So what's one of the first ones here? FactoryTalk Analytics provides industrial manufacturer practitioners with a complete spectrum of descriptive to predictive analytic solutions for achieving business outcomes. ThingWorks. ThingWorks IIoT platform connects devices, applications, and data sources across your entire enterprise, providing a single source to collect, aggregate, and enable secure access to industrial operational data. It lets you connect, manage, monitor, and control diverse automation devices and software applications through one intuitive interface. FactoryTalk Edge Gateway simplifies and automates collection, contextualization, and organization of industrial equipment data across machines, devices, automation assets at the source itself. So this software package is very powerful if you're a controls engineer and wanting to come up with distinctive data models to be able to either push up to your database and or cloud solutions. It provides the right foundation to drive edge-to-edge cloud and OT convergence from the shop floor to the enterprise. So an example of this, contextualizing. This is a ThingWorks contextualized mashup example. So it's a visualization space for all things. So there's widgets and data that can be put there, and data can be bound to all these assets. So as you can see, and I can bring up, so there's a lot of key performance indicators here, whether it's IIE, production shift schedules, bar graphs here that can be bound to any sort of data for monitoring. Line graphs here for tracking, OEE, etc. So just an example of what contextualized data can help and make things more useful to give you real insights of what's happening out on your plant floor or on your OEM equipment. This is the understand and transform phase. So this is putting all the pieces together. With all the pieces we've discussed, the last two phases of the digital transformation journey is the understanding and moving into the space. All these that I'm showing here are published use cases of companies that are adapting the lifestyle of IoT and showing results. So one is an innovation for Starbucks. They had a proof of concept where they want to leverage the data using their mobile apps and to build customer intimacy, which in fact their ROI led to improved customer experience, which made happier customers, which mean they spend more money and come back to Starbucks. The music platform Spotify, customer service, using listener data to predict, test, and deliver hit song playlists. So it's learning. It's kind of a predictive analytics model. Again, improve the customer experience. The platform had 157 million active users in 2018. So ultimately, after following all these steps that Winkle Electric and Rockwell Automation can help you in each phase, this is where your end goal wants to be. Proving out that proof of concept and driving the ROI that you're looking for. Future-proof your business. Deploying IoT systems across processes and departments enables organizations to build a bank of knowledge and experience, which can then be called upon during future adaptations of other new technologies and methods. Investment, innovation, built upon this foundation of expertise will not only be more efficient and effective, but will most likely have greater returns and lower levels of uncertainty associated with it. Future-proof your business. Winkle Electric and Rockwell Automation want to be your partner in this space. Thank you. I will open up the floor for questions. If you feel free to reach out to me or your account manager if you would like to start discussing your IoT journey and how we can help you with each step of the way.